Hey, and welcome to another episode of Dinner for Two. And on this episode, we're going to be doing something called a beef Wellington. This is it. These are individual beef Wellingtons. Now, if you ever watch Gordon Ramsay on Hell's Kitchen, he has the contestants, the participants, the cooks make beef Wellington. We're not going to make a big roll of beef Wellington because we're not having a whole party. We're only having dinner for two. So we're making the individual beef Wellington. And I'm going to show you how it's done. It's real simple. We're not going to use the overdrawn recipe. We're going to use a real simple recipe. And it calls for really nothing. Everything you probably have in your refrigerator right now or in your cupboards. We'll see you back on this episode of Dinner for Two. Hey, welcome back. We're going to begin making these individual beef Wellingtons, and we're going to begin right now. We're going to begin with a nice piece of beef tenderloin, or you can use filet of beef with a little marbleization, just a little bit. A nice piece of beef. And we're going to season that. Okay, we're going to now season it with a little Himalaya sea salt. And some black peppercorn. Be generous, both sides. Okay, roll it around to pick up all of those pieces of corn and salt. Make sure it's added to every inch of this tenderloin. We are now going to put this beef tenderloin into a hot pan. Make sure it's hot. And you're going to use olive oil. No butter, olive oil. Put the olive oil in there. And now we're going to add the beef tenderloin. We're just going to get a char or a sear onto this beef Wellington piece of meat. I have to say that smells wonderful. Now the oil that you're going to use is not that anointed oil. It's going to be oil that you buy from the supermarket, from the store. That's regular cooking oil, not the anointed oil. Turn over and sear on the other side. Nice golden sear, nice brown sear. Ow! Searing the beef tenderloin or the beef fillet only takes around 20 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds. You don't really want to cook it through. You just want it to char and give it a nice sear. And what we're going to do, we're now going to put it on the side so that each side of this piece of meat is properly seared. We have removed the beef tenderloin from the frying pan, and here it is. It is nice, seared and charred on all sides. And now what we're going to do, we're going to apply mustard. We're going to put some nice spicy mustard on this piece of meat. Don't sound right. We're going to put some nice mustard on this beef tenderloin. Amen. All over the piece of meat. Almost like painting. Put some good mustard, nice spicy mustard. It's gonna make the meat taste real good. You want to make sure that you apply this mustard as soon as it comes out of the hot pan, because what happens is that it's still cooking and the sauce or the juice or the flavor from the mustard is going to now be drawn into the meat. Normally, when you cook steak or any meat, you have to let it rest, because what happened is that all the juices that are now flowing out stop, they flow back in, and the meat continues to cook even while it has left the pan. So what we're going to do, we're going to let this go to room temperature, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the refrigerator to let it cool down. And the reason I'm going to let it cool down is because we're now going to make the pastry, and also the mushroom and the ham is going to, I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to make something really good, really nice. So now what we're going to do, we're going to prepare the mushrooms. These mushrooms you can purchase at the supermarket. They're already chopped, and I'm going to put them inside my hand processor. I'm not going to use the big processor because this is just for 2 items, 3 items. And we're going to put these in this processor. And we're going to ground it up. We have placed our mushrooms inside this food processor. We're going to put a little bit of peppercorn. Himalaya sea salt. Nothing like it. It's good for you. We're going to now cover this. Get it moving. Get it moving. After you finish processing your mushrooms, this is how it should be looking. You don't have to add anything to it but the salt and the pepper. You adding the salt is going to pull the moisture out of the mushrooms. We're now going to put these mushrooms into the frying pan, the same frying pan that we use the beef tenderloins to cook, and we're going to use that same pan. So I tasted a little bit of that mushroom, pepper, and salt concoction. Very good, very good. So we have removed the mushrooms from the pan, and obviously it's still hot. And what we're going to do, we're going to let this rest and cool before we begin to wrap the beef Wellington or the beef tenderloin in the pastry. The pastry is something that you could pick up at any supermarket, grocery aisle, and you know, it's just like a pastry puff that you want to buy from the supermarket. And we're going to do that as soon as this cool down. We're going to begin to wrap it. And what we're going to wrap it with, we're going to wrap it with the pastry, the ham. You're supposed to use provolone cheese. I'm going to use Gouda. Gouda with this mushroom and the beef tenderloin. We'll be right back with that. We're going to begin by layering the ham. We're also going to put the cheese. You can use whatever kind of cheese that you want to use on this beef Wellington or in this beef Wellington. We're now going to add the mushrooms, which taste delicious. Delicious. We're now going to roll the pastry dough. Now this is something, like I said, you can just pick right out of the supermarket grocery aisle. Make sure all the edges are closed. And because I'm not going to be cooking this or baking this beef Wellington right now, I'm going to wrap it in some saran wrap or a Reynolds wrap. Put it in the refrigerator and get it ready for later on. And when you bake this, it's going to be fantastic. Now you have it, a beef Wellington, an individual beef Wellington that you can prepare and you can put back in the refrigerator or even the freezer and bake at a later time. And when you bake it, you're going to bake it at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for around 20 to 25 minutes until the pastry becomes golden brown. But before you bake it, what you're going to do is you're going to get an egg wash. Put it on there so it can become golden brown and looking nice and shiny. It's fantastic. It can be for an individual or 2 people. I think it's good for an individual. You have a great day, and thank you for watching this episode of Dinner for Two. Now here we have the beef Wellington, along with some garlic mashed potatoes and grilled asparagus. Oh, so good.